you're never going to succeed in everything you do. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to fail, but you have to understand really quickly if something's not working and then course correct, write it off as an investment in experience, and then try the next thing. Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm sure the first time even a Steve Jobs tried to build, the perfect computer or an iPhone, it wasn't a success.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Don't Do That podcast. I am Kelly Waltrich, and today I have with me a legend. You all know and love my guest, Joel Bruckenstein. We like to think of him as the godfather, maybe the mob boss of Fintech. I don't know. What do you think? But we're really excited to have him here today. Joel, I don't think you need an introduction, but why don't you tell everybody what you're up to when you are not traveling the world with your beautiful wife?
When I'm not traveling the world with my wife, I spend almost all my time looking at technology for advisors. And so for past quarter century, I have been reviewing technology, helping advisors, consulting with advisors on the technology stack. I have written 3 books on technology. I run the T3 conference, which is in its 21st iteration coming in March. And we've done a number of other conferences along the way. And with my good friend Bob Veras, every year we do the T3 Inside Information Tech Survey, which contains a wealth of information after we survey thousands of advisors every year.
Awesome. Guys, did you hear that? 21 years of the T3 Technology Conference. That's insane. I think especially after COVID, where a lot of conferences didn't make it through that craziness, it's awesome to see you on your 21st year. And I'm lucky to have been to a bunch of them and been to a part of them. And I think it's a mainstay on everyone's conference list. So congrats on 21
thank
years,
you.
Joel. That's awesome.
We try.
Yeah. I feel like you've been on a journey being in it for 21 years, having to modernize and change and evolve and grow. And tell us, like, what's the biggest difference from 21 years ago to today?
Well, I think 21 years ago, the wealth tech industry was a cottage industry. So first of all, we didn't have any money. Most of the companies that were exhibiting didn't really have any money. And at the beginning, very few advisors wanted to pay to go to a conference that was just about technology, because in those days, if you think back, there were no iPhones, there were no iPads. Most advisors didn't even have a website yet. So, it was a very different world, and trying to pull and kick and scream advisors into the 21st century was quite a challenge. I think these days, it's just the opposite. I think everybody, to a greater or lesser extent, is embracing technology. But as you know, Kelly, right now we're going through another, technology revolution with AI and all the things it's going to bring. And we're in the very early stages of that. But just as, we had to encourage advisors years ago to get an email address and to get a website, we now need to encourage advisors to embrace these latest technology changes and let them know, how it can really help them today and what they need to think about to be building the tech stack of the future.
That's awesome. In marketing, I have in my my arsenal what I call the marketing sophistication curve. You're either standing at ground zero, starting your brand, or you're at a point of predictability in terms of your pipeline. Give me a sense of, like, what is ground zero non-negotiable for firms in terms of technology these days?
Well, I mean, I think obviously advisory firms, we always say, are like snowflakes. No two are the same. So your tech stack is going to reflect what your business model is. If you're doing comprehensive planning, obviously you need CRM software, you need financial planning software, you need portfolio management and rebalancing software. You're going to need some kind of accounting system. You're going to be using either Microsoft Office, or you're going to be using something similar from Google or somebody else. So those are the real basics. And also today, cybersecurity, right? A lot of advisors confuse IT with cyber. They're two separate functions. Everybody needs not only an IT provider, but they also need a cyber provider. Those are the most very basic things.
Got it. Do you see there a possibility with the introduction of AI to adding something to that very basic list in the near future?
Well, we debate this a lot here, whether AI is, a product or a feature. And I think today it's both. So, to some extent, AI is already being incorporated into many of the tools that advisors are using. At the T3 conference next month, I expect to see numerous rollout of new AI features within a lot of the software that people are already using.
Right.
But having said that, AI is also a product, right? So whether you're using Gemini or whether you're using ChatGPT or something else, um, they exist in parallel today. And I think you're going to see them pretty much merged in the future until it's all just embedded into everything we do.
Right. All right, Joel, let's get down to it. So, the premise of the show is don't do that. The goal is to give our guests a glimpse into mistakes folks like you who have found great success have made in their career so that they can sidestep them in their own. So give us your don't do that. What are we not doing today?
Well, I would say the biggest don't do that for folks who are starting or running a firm is don't believe that you know everything and that you're a master of everything because you're not. And so at the beginning, when I started my RIA firm years ago, I tried to do everything, right? I tried to be my own technology consultant. I tried to be my own marketing consultant. I tried to be my own business consultant, my own tax consultant. And even though I have some expertise in many of those areas, since I'm a certified financial planner, I'm not great at all of them. I may be passable in most of them, but if you want to be great, you need to have people who are great in all of those areas. So in marketing in particular, I was absolutely horrible at the beginning because I didn't know what I was doing. And to a certain extent in technology, I was horrible because I was depending on articles written or referrals I got from advisors who knew nothing more than I did about technology. And so until I really started delving into it and doing my own deep due diligence, I wasn't a technology expert by any stretch of the imagination. So you have to pick your spots. You have to decide what you're going to specialize in, devote your time to what you're really good at, and what you're not good at, you have to outsource to somebody who is good at it, or you have to hire people to do it for you.
I imagine that it's like, okay, well, actually, I know that it's like having launched my own business the last couple of years. So it's one, it's like, what are you good at? But two, I imagine it's like you can't do everything in a day, right?
Right.
So I think that the time constraint and the hours that we have in a day to put towards the things that we are best at is really what we need to focus on. Like how do you help firms prioritize that? Because it is one sometimes cost prohibitive to outsource the things that you need to outsource. And two, it's like you feel as an entrepreneur or as someone starting a business or even growing an existing business that, hey, if I just put more time, energy, and hours into this, it'll be okay. When that's ultimately not the case. I feel like I'm learning all of these things the hard way, Joel.
Yeah, I think, you make a couple of good points. I mean, one is not every task adds as much value to the enterprise. And so I think you have to prioritize there as well. After you say, hey, what am I really good at and what's my passion? And also what's essential, but that I hate to do,
Yeah.
whether I'm competent at it or not, you have to look at it and say, what are the essentials to growing my business and making this business a success? And you have to invest more money in those areas and maybe less money in some areas that are nice to haves, but not critical to running a business.
Yeah, I think that that's really smart. I feel like and I think I don't know how you feel about this, but I think a little bit of trial and error is okay to see where you can get, but not to the point of, you and I had a little chat before this. We kicked off this recording, and it's like a lot of times you end up thinking you're saving money, and you end up spending 4 times as much to get it right in the end. Do you see that happening with a lot of firms when it comes to their technology or other areas of their business?
Well, I think particularly in technologists, most technologists will tell you, fail fast.
Yeah,
So I think one mistake a lot of advisory firms make is kind of the other side. They're so cautious that
yeah,
there's a lot of opportunity cost. There's a lot of opportunity they're leaving on the table, and they don't realize the opportunity cost of not trying things. So I think, you know, you're never going to succeed in everything you do. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to fail, but you have to understand really quickly if something's not working, and then course correct, write it off as an investment in experience, and then try the next thing. Rome wasn't built in a day. I'm sure the first time even a Steve Jobs tried to build, the perfect computer or an iPhone, it wasn't a success.
Right.
So, if you're learning something along the way that's going to help you ultimately succeed, to me, that's capital investment in your business. It's not a failure.
I think that's really, really good advice. So, everybody that's listening, just as a reminder, Joel is telling us that what we're not doing today is thinking that we know everything, thinking that we could do everything ourselves. I know that's hard for some of you. It's certainly hard for me, but it's really good advice. So, Joel, give us a sense of you look at the technology landscape every day, all day. The survey is one of the guiding lights in this industry in terms of where the puck is going,
Hmm.
the players that are delivering the best service, and everything in between. Give us a sense of a preview of this year's survey and what are we seeing? What changes are we seeing? What companies have been a mainstay for a long time and aren't going anywhere? Just give us a little bit of data. Like what are you seeing?
Unfortunately, I don't have all the data yet, so that's a little premature. We're not closing the survey for another, I would say, 3 weeks. So I haven't even
Joel
peeked at
knows
the
I try
date.
to sneak it in if I
I
can, right?
know. So we haven't even peeked at the data yet. But, just from being around and being at so many conferences and talking to so many folks, clearly, pretty much a year ago, there were no, AI powered note taking applications, right?
Yeah.
Now there's at least half a dozen of them, if not more.
Yep.
AI wasn't really being used at all yet in an advisor's office to automate workflows. We're going to start to see that emerge this year very shortly, if we're not already.
Yep.
Um, I think uh, a lot of folks are hesitant to use it for client-facing tasks today because they were very concerned about the previous administration's stance on that, particularly the SEC. I think what you're going to see is somewhat of a loosening up of that. And I think in 2025, we will see a little more AI-driven investment things. But even today, there are companies out there that claim to have AI that can serve as an equity analyst. I've seen a firm that will be a T3 that can also do some very sophisticated bond analysis using AI. And I think portfolio construction and other things are going to come down the pike. And I think once people get comfortable with whatever the SEC's regulatory stance is, it'll progress a lot more quickly.
Yeah, that's super interesting. As you probably could guess, my last guest on Don't Do That, which will be airing soon, was your friend and mine, Eric Clark. And his Don't Do That was, don't get left in the dust when all these companies are figuring out how to use AI to get ahead of you. And he gave some phenomenal examples in terms of what he's seeing companies do. And I got off that call and I was like mind blown, like, oh my gosh, there are so many things that I should be doing internally. And it actually made us launch a search for our first sort of AI analyst for intentionally because I think I have a very evolve or die mindset. And I think marketing is definitely, I mean, this is coming from a marketing business owner. I know that marketing is ripe to be disrupted and I want to be the one doing it.
Right.
So we're starting to invest in bringing not only AI services to our clients, but also flipping all of our operations internally upside down to figure out how we can use it to be smarter and better.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, a lot of obviously tech firms are already using it to write code. I've been in brainstorming sessions with really, really smart people where we're using AI to collaborate with us to
Yeah.
brainstorm on all kinds of things. I think there's a lot of use cases today that advisors can use it in the office besides the obvious one. I just upgraded my Office 365 the other day, and now it has Copilot in it, and
Yeah.
it's pretty much incorporated into every application in the Office suite.
Yep.
And so it's going to start interacting with you almost whether you want it or not. I bought a new Google phone simply because they were offering the most recent and sophisticated version of Gemini AI built into it.
Yep.
I can have conversations with my phone now and ask it all kinds of things. And, it's right now, it's just another tool, but it's going to get, again, better and better. I went on a trip, it's over a year and a half ago, to the Far East with my kids and my wife. And I used AI to build our itinerary. Everything from what sites we wanted to see, in what order. So we geographically were doing the right things at the right time, even restaurant and hotel recommendations. So if you just think about, this is low hanging fruit. There's
Right.
going to be agents that can do many,
Anything.
many things. All the back office stuff that advisors have to deal with is eventually going away. A lot of the things in a workflow now, in your CRM, where there has to be human interaction, a lot of that's going to go away. So I think firms, much sooner than we think, are going to get a lot more efficient than we think. They're going to be able to add clients without adding staff. And they're going to be able to leverage their own intellectual property and their own data in ways that we couldn't even imagine just a few short years ago.
That's so awesome. It's so awesome. And only a business that's been in existence as long as yours has can see the awesome changes that occur over this period of time. I think we're stepping into such a wild time period, and I just think it's so exciting. I think everything about it is
It
exciting.
really is. I mean, it's a little bit scary because I
Yeah.
think, humans in general resist change. This change is a massive change. And I really don't think most folks, especially in our industry, have grasped just how big a change it's going to be. But I really do think the glass is half full, not half empty. I think it's going to benefit advisors who evolve.
Yeah.
Um, Quite a bit. And it's like every time you have a major change in technology, what ends up happening is the strong get stronger and the weak, really either fall away, they get merged out of existence or what have you.
Right.
So the good news is also, with regard to scale, some firms who are not willing to embrace it are literally going to have to merge in order to be able to benefit from this. But I do think so much of the technology is so affordable that somebody who's really thoughtful about it, can still start and scale a relatively small, very successful business if they really embrace technology, just like the first book we wrote on this quarter century ago. So the more things change, the more they stay the same as well.
I love that. All right, everybody. One more time. What we're not doing today is thinking we're the smartest person in the room and that we can do it all. I love that. I think that's a good reminder for us all. Joel, what do you give everybody as a parting thought? Where do they start? Like, how do you get real with yourself around like, hey, these things are the things that I am not killing. I am not great at these things. And how do you think about finding resources to step into those areas?
Yeah, I think in general, conferences in our industry are one of the best ways. I mean, when I was trying to learn about technology, I wanted to hang out with the smartest technologists I could find and pick their brains all the time. And usually, as you know, Kelly, that's done over drinks after a long day at an industry event.
Yep.
And so you go to the events, that are in the areas that interest you, and you take the time to network, ask a lot of questions, and be a sponge, soak it all up, and then really, take the time on your trip home or when you get home, to review what you've been through and say, what are the takeaways here that I want to implement when I get back to my office? But I really do think, obviously, being in the business as long as I have, I know most of the smartest technologists in the industry. And I still talk to them all the time, and we share ideas and we ask each other and bounce ideas off of each other because you need the power of many in order to really take it to the next level. Eric Clark didn't get to be as smart as he was sitting in his office. He was out on the road all the time talking to smart people, absorbing all the feedback, and then processing that and, creating something fantastic out of it. And I think, the successful people in our industry, you tend to see them on the road so much at so many events because they want to be around other smart people and learn from them. And,
Yep.
we're learning every day. I'm learning every day. I talked probably, 5, 6 conference calls yesterday or Zoom calls, and every one of them I learned something.
Yeah. I think that's great. And I know our don't do that is don't think you're the smartest person in the room, but I think after talking to you and after talking to Eric, there's another don't do that that has arisen for me. And it doesn't matter how long you're in this industry. Don't think that you get to stop learning. Like Eric was telling me he was at an Omaha college taking online courses on AI. And here you are in this business as long as you've been talking about how you're still learning things from the people that you surround yourself with. I think that's a reminder to all of us, like, take the class,
Oh,
have the
yeah.
conversation, get to the conference, do the things because the world moves fast and it'll quickly pass you by if you don't. All right, Joel, I'm so glad to talk to you. I feel like you are a world traveler and I have to like jump on a plane to Spain or something if I want to spend time. So I really appreciate you taking the time today. I'm excited for your conference. All of our clients are psyched for your conference.
Well, yes, I hope I'll see you there March 3rd through 6th in Dallas at the T3 conference. Any listeners who want to sign up can go to t3conferences.com. We still have some
Yeah.
hotel rooms available, but they are going to sell out. I'm happy to say that the exhibit hall is a sellout. So we have a
Awesome.
tremendous group of vendors this year. We have AI speakers coming from both Google and Microsoft. Plus,
Ooh.
as you know, all of the industry experts, many of whom are friends of yours as well. So I think it's going to be a great learning experience, and I hope we can share some of what we've learned with your audience at T3 in March.
That sounds awesome. All right, you guys heard it. Heard it from the Godfather himself. Be at the conference. See you in Dallas. Sign up today. And Joel, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kelly.
All right.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to be notified when new episodes become available. And please consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. This podcast is sponsored by Intentionally, a financial services growth engine design consultancy and agency. If you want to learn more, please email me at kelly@growintentionally.com. Thank you again for listening, and check back to hear what we're not doing next.